Well, g'day everyone. Recently I was contacted by a company to see if I'd be interested in looking at one of their new wireless transmitters. It also has a monitor that's included in this setup as well. But these are the units that I've got. Now I think it's called Shimbol, and I'll have a look with you in a minute at what's in each box. And also the monitor as well. Now I'll have to check. I'm not sure whether these connect to the monitor or what, so I'm going to have to play around with these to see what they are. But this box here has a receiver and a transmitter. Now this is the 1000, so this has just come out. I don't even think you can purchase this at this stage, but it will be out soon, replacing their 600 model, I believe. I think it's just more powerful and it can actually go further away from the transmitter. So let's have a look at what's in each of these boxes, and then I'll sort of go through how the whole system works. This is, like I said, it's called the Shimbol 1000 series, and there's a transmitter and a receiver in this. So let's open it up. Very nicely packaged too. So let's take this off. There's a little bit of foam or something there. Inside you just get a manual, which I'll have to have a look at and read to see how we set this all up. There's also a card here that will tell you where to go to the website and things like that. There's a USB cable. Now it looks like it's going to be USB-C, which is great. So that's that. And then you've just got your antennas in here. Now they do give you a spare one, which is good. So we'll take those antennas out, and then we'll take the units out as well. It's always something satisfying with taking these off. So these are the two units themselves. So they're clearly marked here. So this one is the receiver. This one over here is the transmitter. They do have your screws so you can attach them to other mounts if you want to connect it onto your camera or other things like that as well. You'll also notice that too, this does say the RX, which is the receiver, and this is TX, which is the transmitter. It just takes your standard Sony batteries in here, something like the 970, something like that, the MPF batteries. And looking around at it, the antennas obviously are up the top, so there's two of them. Also, you've got HDMI out, and there's also SDI. So these are great because they've got HDMI as well as SDI on here as well. So this is your HDMI in, this is your HDMI out, and SDI out. So it's great. So you can use it with both systems, SDI and HDMI. Anything else? Just on this side here, you've got your USB 5 volts and your on and off switch. So you can probably run these from USB, I would say, if you wanted to run them that way. And that's about it looking at the units until we turn them on and have a look at how they connect. Now, I'll just screw on the antennas. Now, they're very nice and small, but they feel really quite well made. This one on. Okay, so that's that. We'll have a look at how these work a little bit later. I'm going to unbox the monitor now. All right, so let's have a look what's in this one. So you can see this is the Shimbol. It's the ZOLINK series, and the model number is the Z0600M. We'll take it out and have a look. I'll tell you about the specs a little bit later. Again, you get the same card that's there. You can just download the user manual straight from this if you want to scan it with your phone and go directly to the company website as well. And then we'll take this out. Now, this is a nice size because I think it's 5.5 inches. So it's not too big if you wanted to stick it on top of your camera. There's nothing else that comes with this though. Obviously, you've got your battery compartments at the back, so you can run two on this, which is great. You've got HDMI in and HDMI out on this side as well. You've also got headphones, so this is great if you're using something like an A6400 or something like that. You also have DC in as well, so you could run this off power as well. This is your power button. These are programmable buttons that you've got on this side here. You've got a small TF card here. This is how you put your LUTs into this, and then your USB-C drive is there. So that's how you could probably power this as well as do updates and things like that as well. Or you might even update through the card. I'm not sure yet. On the bottom part of this, you just have your normal mount adapters here. It even looks like it probably will fit the small rig stuff by the look of it, because I know they come with these lugs on the side. So it'll be interesting to have a look at that and see how this works. So what we'll do now is I'm going to power them up and we can have a look at what sort of each unit does. All right, so I've got the batteries out. And again, if we look here, I'm going to have the lovely Think of taking this screen protector off. ASMR. So I'll just put that over there. Now, I'm just going to put one battery in this for the moment, and then, like I said, you can run two, which would last a lot longer, probably an awful long time actually if you put two in. So hopefully it will run off one battery. So we'll have a look at that. I'll just stick in this battery into here. Wonder if it matters which one. I'll put it this side first. It probably doesn't make any difference. Now let me just see if I can turn this on. Let's see if it fires up. Yep. So it is actually starting. Okay, so I can tell straight away looking at it, it's very, very contrast. It's lovely, actually. The blacks and everything are really deep. So it looks like it's going to be a nice monitor to have a play around with. Okay, so let's have a look at the website. It'll give you some information about this unit. It says the distance that this can go up to is 500 feet, and there's 80 milliseconds delayed. If we scroll down on this as well, you can see it's a 5.5-inch wireless monitor, and I'll take you through some of the menus in a minute. I'll show you how this sort of works. You can just stick it on top of your camera, and that's what I'll do probably with this. Just have it on the camera there so I can see what's going on as well and look at the performance of how this works. Or you can run it standalone if you wanted to run it that way. You could have your receivers, those are the transmitters that I showed you going into it as well. It will do TX and RX, so you can change that inside the settings by the look of it. It says here that the transmitter function and receiver function are all in one device. So if you have more than one of these monitors, you could use one as a receiver and one as a transmitter. So that's really good how it works. It says it's got lower power consumption. I don't know what that is yet until I have a look at how this works. But if you look at it, one transmitter supports multiple receivers. So what you can see here is that you can have this is the TX, so this is the transmitter, and then you've got two receivers as the monitors there. You can also go to iPhones or iPads as well. So it will go to multiple devices. So that's terrific. So you could have clients looking at it or things like that as well. The monitor itself looks like it's going to have waveforms, vector scopes, histograms, RGB parade, and custom LUTs, etc. It is a 1000 nit luminance, so it's reasonably bright. I mean, it's not as bright as what some are, but that's okay for in daylight. It also has false color as well. It does have the dual battery slots, which I talked about, so this would run an awful long time as well, and it's a touch screen, so we'll try that out soon just to see how it actually works. So just to go through some of the specifications of this, like I said, it does have an interface for a 3.5mm headphone out. That's great if you're using something like an A6400 or something like that where there's no headphone socket to come out. It does take the MPF batteries. It works from 7 volt to 16.8 volt. This is the power supply. Screen resolution is 1920 by 1080. And I think it goes up to 60p. It tells you a little bit further down about that. The brightness is 1000 CDM and the contrast ratio is 1200 to 1. Like I said, the contrast ratio is very, very good. And the screen size is 5.5 and it's a TP screen. The video inputs goes up to 1080 50p, or it'll be 1080 60p if you're from the US. It will take LUTs as well, as long as it's in the cube format. It also does teleprompting as well. So I believe if you put a file in there with text, you can use it as a teleprompter. So that's interesting. Firmware updates you do that through the TF card as well. The audio frequency is 48 kilohertz. Now, the interesting thing too is the transmission frequency band is on the 5 gigahertz spectrum. So it is going to be a lot better in that regards because the 2.8 can be quite saturated, so it does work on the it goes from 5.1 to 5.8, and the transmission range is 500 feet. All right, so what we'll do now is I'm going to turn on the transmitter and the receiver, and we'll see what happens there, and then we'll connect the whole thing all together. All right, so we'll put these larger batteries into here. That's one into there, and we'll go one into here. Now, you wouldn't need to use batteries this big. I mean, these are going to last an awful long time. All right, so what I thought I'd do is I can't take you to a website about this because these aren't released yet and I haven't been able to find it. So they did send me an Excel spreadsheet with the specifications on this. So just to tell you, the model number is Z01000 and it's a 1000 feet dual HDMI SDI Type C system. The screen is OLED. And like I said, there's one SDI and one HDMI input and output as well. The HDMI format does go up to 1080p, 50 and 60, depending on if you're PAL, etc. Frequency also is 5.1 gigahertz to 5.8 gigahertz, so it does have that as well. Now, it just says down here that the latency is much, much better on this. It's only 0.8 seconds, so we'll have to test that and just see. So the transmission distance is 300 meters and the transmission distance loss is 100 meters. So I suppose they're saying that you can go to 100 meters without the loss, and then after that, you could go up to 300 if you wanted to push it. It always is line of sight, though. That's one thing that you do have to remember with these. Now, the weight size is 168 grams, so they're not heavy at all. But the build material is really very, very good on these units. So let's switch the on-off switches. So on this side here, we've just got the on-off switch. I'm going to do it on the transmitter first, so I'll turn that on. And then I'll turn on the receiver. You can see that it's saying Shimbol there. So it's both coming up. Now, it'll be interesting to see if they're paired as they come out of the box. Now they have. Okay, so this is the interface. So you can see here that at the top there, it actually tells you the signal strength that's there. It also tells you the channel number, and it's also saying that there's no video source yet at this stage. That's because I've got nothing connected into these. I'm just having a look in the manual here, and it's actually saying that you can do live streaming with this. I'm not sure whether that would have to be done through the iPhone. It probably would. Through the app, and you'll be able to go live streaming through that. What it's saying that you do here is that you long press this middle button, and that will take you into the menu system. So you've got settings, you've also got message and back as well. So you can then move down or up depending on what you'd like to do through here. In the setting menu through here, you've got pairing, you've also got language, and then back as well. If you go to the message section here, you've got the SSID. You've also got the version number, so you could check what version number this is. It's 1.2.7, so that way you could check if you wanted to make sure that if you needed to update the firmware on this, and then go back as well. So the interface is really simple, very, very simple. Let's have a look at the receiver. We'll see what's on this one. If I hold the middle button in this one, you've got the same, which is your settings. So that will also do pairing, language, and also back. You've got the message in this as well. So again, it'll give you the version number and everything there. And underneath here, you've got scan. So you can actually scan if you wanted to find a frequency, a channel that's sort of open. So that's how that would work. And then we've got back as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to connect a camera to these, and we'll have a look at how it comes up in the monitor. Okay, so what I've done here is I've connected the camera through the HDMI you can see here, and it's going into the transmitter over there. Now, if you look now, you can see that it now says it's on 1080p 50. That's because that's what I've got my camera set at. That's working fine. You can also see the channel number as well. Now, if I bring this next one over, you'll see that the receiver is also showing on there 1080p 50 as well. So that's great. It also, you'll notice it tells you how many volts you've got left in the battery as well here. 8 volt there, and it's 7.9 volts through there. Which is nice, so you're going to know if you're going to be running out of power. This is your signal strength that you've got up here as well, and that's your channel number that you've got there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to attach this receiver to the monitor, and we'll have a look at that. Okay, so what I've done now is I've connected the camera into the transmitter here, and then it goes from the transmitter wirelessly to the receiver here, and then that receiver is going straight into the monitor that you can see here. So this is working wirelessly from the transmitter here to the receiver. That's completely separate. If you notice, I can just move that away. And then if I move the camera, you'll notice that it's moving in the monitor as well. So that's working that way wirelessly, connecting it together. Now you can also go wireless straight into this monitor without using this receiver here. And that'll be interesting to try, and I'll see if I can get that to work as well. But it's a nice system the way that this is working. So what I've done now is I've now taken out that receiver completely out. You can see it's actually sitting here. And the camera is going into the transmitter, and then this is wirelessly then going to the monitor that you can see up through here. You can notice if you look up the top there, you can see it's wireless. You can change that in the settings. I'll show all these settings later to be HDMI or wireless. You can also change things like the transmitter to be a transmitter, instead of being receiver. But I'll show you all of these features soon. I'll go through the menus and how they work. But this is now a great system because I could now have this wireless, or your client could have this wireless monitor and being able to see what you're actually recording. And that's fantastic. Or you may say want to have that somewhere and be remotely watching what's going on. If you're in a wedding, for instance, you could have it so that the camera was on the bride and you could be filming from another spot and you could be wirelessly checking what's going on with that camera too. So this is a terrific feature. The whole system actually works very, very well. So let me take you through the features of this little device. Now you can see the audio is showing down the bottom down here. So when you're looking at it, the audio is showing there. So that's good that you get a representation of what the audio is. You can see if it's peaking, etc. Now, the way I set this up, you can see up here, this is what I was saying before. It's showing at the moment that it's in wireless. It's also showing your signal strength. You've got RX showing. The channel number there, obviously it doesn't matter in this regard because it's just paired itself. It's saying that it's 1920 by 1080 at 50p. It's also saying that the card's attached, I think. I think that's pretty sure what that means. And it's also showing what your wattage is, 7.8 volts through here as well. Now, to change the settings for wireless, well, this is how you do it. So you can actually choose input and then you could change it to HDMI, or you can stay in wireless, or you can also go into channel as well. Now, these settings won't work because it's already paired. If I go to here, so you can see that you can select HDMI from there as well. But I've connected via wireless. All I had to do was pair it. So I just had to change the transmitter into pairing mode and then click on this little pairing button here, and it all happened automatically. It was very, very simple the way that this worked. Really simple, in fact. Yeah, I think you can even scan this too if you wanted to do it through the iPhone app, probably. Now, let's have a look at some of these features that are through here. So here you've got waveform, so you can put the waveform down. Now, you notice that's appeared on the right-hand side there. So if I change my exposure, you'll see how the waveform will be going up and down. That's a nice feature to have. You can also change the opacity too by moving through here if you wanted to make it a bit brighter or something like that. You can also change here as well and go through and have your RGB parade. And again, if you alter your exposure, you'll see that that will change. So it's a great way of getting exposure. You've also got histogram. You can show multiple ones. You'll notice that now I've got the RGB parade and the histogram. So if I take that off, the histogram will disappear. If I bring that back on, you'll just have the histogram on its own. You've also got vector as well, which is great if you're trying to get skin tones and things like that, or check for color balance and things like that too. So that's a nice thing to have on there as well. The next one along is your markers. So here you can de-squeeze. You can have anamorphic if you were shooting anamorphic, for instance. So you'll notice now it'll squeeze down. You have to turn the anamorphic on. And that's a nice feature too, so you'll be able to see how the image actually looks. I'm just going to turn that off. So that's your de-squeeze. You've got markers here as well, so you can have all your markers actually showing in this. So if you turn your markers on, you'll notice that they're in red if you wanted to go down to 15.9 or 13.9 or even 4.3. You'll see that you get those markers that are showing inside here as well. You can even put user ones in if you want to. You can change the color of your markers too through here. Safe area, you can set safe areas. That was more, I think, to do if you were using traditional TV and things like that. And then you've also got center markers as well, if you want to put a center marker in. So you've got a lot of control. And again, you can change the color of that if you wanted to. This here is your focus peaking. So if you went to manual focus, you'll see that it will come on. Let me just put this into manual and I'll show you. So now when I focus, you'll see that the focus peaking is moving on the monitor. It's in red at the moment, and you can obviously change that to any setting that you liked. So that's a nice feature as well. You can also do the sensitivity. So obviously if you bring this up, it'll be much more brighter than if it's down here somewhere. I like to sort of leave it around so it's not too bright or too strong. You can also zoom in here as well. So that will give you the ability to zoom in. Yeah, so you can zoom in. Next one along here is your zebras. So you can set zebras. So you put a figure in and you can look for overexposure. At the moment, they're turned off. You can see these ones at the back here are overexposed. So if I change my exposure, you'll see that that will disappear. So it just depends on what you'd like to set your zebras or zebras, however you want to pronounce it, through here. And you've got these settings that you can do through here. You can have a minimum setting and a maximum setting. Often if you're shooting with log footage, they'll give you those settings, or you can work those settings out, what you need them to be to get your exposure correct. The next one that you've got here too is false color. And I really like using false color. It's a great way of getting skin tones and things like that, because you get an idea of exposure. Now, it does have a grid through here which tells you roughly where you will be. Your skin tones are going to be in that gray sort of area. And obviously, if I go up higher, it's going to be underexposed. If I come down, it will be overexposed. You can see it's going to start going into these red areas, which means it's overexposed. So it's a great way of checking if you have anything that's overexposed or not. It's a really nice feature to use. Actually, I use that a lot. And then we've also got monochrome as well, so you can view them in different colors if you'd like to go through that way, or just in black and white. Sometimes people like to do black and white, for instance. Next one along here is your LUT selection. I haven't got LUTs in this yet, but if you did have a LUT in this, you would load it. You actually just put the LUT onto the card up here, and then you could load that in as well. Oh, there is some LUTs actually. So if I went to S-Log3 cube and then confirm, so it's an S-Log3 LUT now in there. Can't put my camera on S-Log3 because I'm using the A9 to do this demonstration and it doesn't have S-Log. So I'm just going to turn the LUT off. So now we're back to as it was before. But like I said, if you were running an A7S3 or something like that, you could put phantom LUTs or anything else that you wanted to put in there too. The gamma setting here is you can change what your gamma setting is, whether you want a 2.2, 2.4, 2.6. You'll have to work out yourself what you'd like to use in that regard. If I put the curve on, you'll notice it will change the settings that you're there as well. So it's just on 2.4. You can run HDR. Again, I haven't got HDR on this camera, but if you were running HDR, you can put it on HLG. Again, you can do that if you wanted to, which is great. So you can run HDR and see what it looks like actually in this monitor. Color temperature as well. You can change the color temperature by user. You can also put standard colors in, so it'll give you an idea about how it's looking, which is great. The user value may be from the camera. I'm not sure at this stage. I'll have to look into that as well. This one here is your teleprompter. I believe you can put text into this and then it will run as a teleprompter. I'm not sure how that works, but well, let's see if there's any in there. No, there's no text in it. I think you have to put text into a card. You can also change the font color as well, and your font size through here. There's master. I'm not sure what these do yet, and slave. I'm not sure what they do, but just be aware that there is a teleprompter mode inside this. This next one here is recording. It's recording onto the SD card. That's amazing. So you can record directly into the SD card. If I press stop, it's just recorded for 15 seconds. So obviously if you get a fairly big card here, let me just go back, see if I can play it. Playback, video file, select the video file and then just say confirm. Now it's playing back the file that I recorded. That is really cool. So you've got your pause, fast forward or rewind through here as well. Cool. You can also lock your monitor as well so you can't change anything. The only other thing that you've got through here is on this side here. This is where you can change your settings. So your brightness of your monitor, the contrast, saturation and sharpness. At the moment there's no sharpness on that. It's down fully down here. You can also change your RGB adjustments as well. So it's very, very powerful, this monitor. One of the most powerful I've seen, actually. It really is amazing. You can then go down to settings. You can have normal or underscan. You can change your backlight settings on this. You can also change your volume if you're listening to the headphones. You can also format the SD card as well. I'll do that because I've recorded something on it, and I just confirm. Now it's formatting the SD card. Function menu just has these function settings up top. So you could set these to different things. So if you clicked inside here, you can see how you can set it to do certain things. So that's up to you. You could use it, for instance, if you wanted to turn on your waveform, you could just select that. If I then close and I press the F1, it just brings up the waveform. So that's nice and easy as well. Pressing it again takes it off. So that's what all these functions. So you've got the F1, F2, and F3, which are up the top there. Your system down here is you select the language, your version number. There's a software update, factory reset, as well. Let me just go back. I don't want to do that. There's a About Us, and the wireless mode is on receiver, because you can also make this as a transmitter as well. So this could be the transmitter. And then you could go, say, out to iPads or something like that. Very, very powerful system. It really is good. So I'm amazed by all of those features that are in there. It's actually incredible. It really is a very, very advanced system, particularly, you know, for the price that I was looking at before. I'm not sure. I can't give pricing yet because, like I said, this hasn't been released yet. The monitor hasn't. I can't remember what it was. It's great for what it does in that regard. Particularly what the monitor does, all the effects and settings and your recording that you can do inside that as well, which is wonderful to have that, and you can put log and everything else in. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I've connected up the Shimbol there via SDI, and you can see it connected through there, and it's going into number 8 on my switcher here. That's the image that's being displayed at the back here, and you can also see it up through here as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to walk into the studio. So it might be a little bit shaky because I'm just hand holding this. Now you can see the setup that I've got here. What we've got now is, if you look down there, we've got the actual unit itself is wireless. That's the monitor that's connected up through here. The camera is connected via the transmitter with HDMI into the camera. Then that goes wirelessly to here. So like I said, that could be anywhere, which is great. So your client could be looking at what you're actually filming. This is then going wirelessly back into the studio. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick clap test, and we'll just see how the latency is. So I'm going to turn this off. Okay, so testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Now I can see in the monitor it's actually pretty good. But, you know, overall we'll just have a look at how this is. Okay, so what do I think about the whole system? Well, it's really impressive actually. The build quality is great. You just saw a really good example then about how I use that into another studio. That was fairly far away in that studio. That studio is over 10 meters long. So, and like I said, the insulation blocking the actual walls and everything is silver foil, which means any sort of wireless thing struggles. So that's great that that actually works like that. The actual clap worked very, very well. The delay was minimal that I could see at all. So it was very, very impressive. So the latency is very good. The picture quality again is certainly, you know, acceptable. Apart from that, there's really nothing else that I can say about this. I love the way you can use that little monitor with it, or you could connect iPhones as well. I had issues with connecting my iPhones because I haven't got the latest updates haven't been updated yet for the iPhone for this new system that I'm using, because this is all brand new. So in the future, there'll be more releases for the actual software that you use on your iPhone. It's really a great system. I really like it. If you have any questions, leave them down below, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. I will put the links down below as well, where you can get this or get information about these. And apart from that, guys, I'll see you all in the next video. Bye for now.